Team God.
Is obviously going to help the result.
He's obviously a really good pass catcher. How do you evaluate his blocking?
Yeah, I mean that's an area that I think anybody that that follows us or knows us or watches us, that's an area that he's behind in as far as compared to his receiving ability and playmaking ability and run after the catch ability. That he has shown flashes of being better in that regard. And really, I've said, you guys have heard me, you have all heard me say this before, that blocking is usually a combination of ability and want to. And he has the ability to, and when he displays the want to, he usually can sustain his block and hold his own in our league. And he did a much better job of that the other night. And that's our standard that we expect from him moving forward, and he'll continue to be like that. And I have no reason to believe that he won't.
You came down to the field. What do you think of the vantage point down there?
Well, yeah, we weighed that a little bit, and we thought just, that was just for me to be able to be engaged with my players, and then obviously from a special teams perspective to be able to be there and more involved and be able to communicate with Daniel, just him and I, on a easier basis without having to say, hey, go to two or go, whatever, for us to be able to just have face-to-face communication and be there for the special teams. But more importantly, probably just for my position group. I mean, they're kind of a man without a home, so to speak, down there. Now, part of the reason we initially tried to do that was because of the experience and maturity that we have there, but I think it just worked out better for me to be with them, and I think that's something we'll probably stick with moving forward.
Be interested to know what you were saying in the headphones when CJ caught the first down pass against Colorado State, and he started going through all the tacklers.
It's been a while since we talked, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while.
That seems like a month ago. Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of one of those head-shaking deals that honestly, it didn't surprise me. I mean, it was a phenomenal play. But, I mean, anybody that's been following him, I mean, I started watching him when he was a sophomore at Fayetteville High School or whatever, and he just had the knack for doing that. He's just a load to tackle, and he just has just something innate in him. I wish to say, I think I joked with some of the people, I think I joked with them saying, that drill we did really paid off. I don't think there's many drills for simulating that many people trying to tackle you and you're running through it, but that's something that he's always brought to the table, and we certainly need that from him down the stretch here.
And it's our Thursday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio here on KDSJ 479. We're here each and every day from 1 to 2 p.m. and we let you hear audio as we have media availability with the offensive staff there at Arkansas, being its off week, heading into next Saturday, 6:30 kickoff at Kentucky versus the Kentucky Wildcats. Let you hear from Barry Lunny, the tight ends coach for the Razorbacks. Talked about Cheyenne O'Grady a little bit. He seems to really feel good, Demetrius, with with this week's practice. And as I've been out on the practice field, seeing the kids move about, it seems like that there's really not a lot of hangover from these past two ball games. You would think there might be a little, but that's not. I didn't get the sense that that's what's been going on. It looked like a very upbeat football team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm excited, bro. I think you don't see a fall off really because I think the team understands where they're at. One thing I really noticed from the team is they understand they're right there. They're right at the verge of becoming a good team. They see the pieces. They see the Chad Morris era kind of taking effect, and it's just the little minute details that I think they understand that they have to get buckled down because even after the game when I talked to Kim and Carol and I talked to
I think you was over at Ben Hicks.
Ben Hicks, yeah, thank you. They just talked about how they have to stop shooting themselves in the foot. You know, getting those small penalties, getting those, offsides or, illegal formations. Those are little things that cost them big time and crucial moments. So, like I said, I think they understand that it's the discipline of doing the little things right that's really going to take these guys to the next level.
And when you also look at this, I think what I was able to see was a lot of Ben Hicks. There was a time yesterday on the sideline was really really encouraging the younger guys. With the effects of let's get better today, guys. Young guys, let's get better. So I think I agree with what you say. They're right on par with where we thought they would be. I thought Arkansas would be at this moment probably 4-1, 3-2 at this juncture. 2-3. But I do feel good at that. This is a better feeling 2-3 football team than I felt in the last 3 to 4 football seasons. That's for sure. But I'll tell you what, we're gonna step away and get us a real quick break. We're gonna have our game of the week. We're gonna talk with Jared Reddick of the Daily Mississippian. Talk a little Ole Miss Rebels and Vanderbilt Commodores. It's all coming up here next on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Caught up with Coach Fry. This is what he had to say. Yesterday's media availability.
I told him it was a big week.
Let's get it.
For me to gain confidence in him and what he's been doing. He's done a really good job this week. Got Bo back in there playing some center too. Just making sure I keep that depth going. He's done a really good job this week with Ty out. So really happy with the way they practice. Hadn't been perfect, but they're out there competing and working. So. I am. I don't expect him to miss, and he's one of those guys that he doesn't expect to miss either. So I wasn't mad at him because he was in a yellow jersey this week. He's taken every rep with a one since camp started, and that's a lot of pounding, a lot of beating, and so you know what, for him to get a little bit of time off, as much as we need practice, he's had plenty of reps to where I'm not worried. I was able to get shine some good reps this week.
How's Cole doing that? He said it's a foot issue.
Yeah.
Is he just a guy you're kind of careful with?
Very careful with. Yeah, I mean, he's a veteran. He helps Ty a lot too out there. He sees a lot. He understands the pressure plan. So he's a guy that's very valuable to me to have on the field on Saturdays. Kind of treat him a little bit like a pro, and he does a great job in meeting rooms, taking notes and understanding what we're doing. So he's definitely a guy that we know that we're going to usually get those Tuesday, Wednesday practices with him. We know he may be out on Sunday, and we'll get him going from there. But he's a high mileage guy, and he doesn't do us any good when he can't play. So we're going to take care of him.
And those guys like Winkle, and I guess we get some extra reps this week.
Yeah. To me, this was the perfect time to get a bye week. Obviously, you'd love to have the record a little bit different, but I think the guys are still hungry. I want to keep building my depth so I can play more than just 5 guys, and that's their challenge. They got to give me confidence to play them. So if they want to get on the field, this is a great week to earn it. Guys playing some different spots, but also guys solidifying their second team spot, and hopefully maybe some of them third team guys trying to travel, get on the bus a little bit. So this is a big week for that second and third group.
Welcome back. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, coming to you each and every day here on KDSJ 479. And we're we'd like to do a lot of SEC caravan as we move around throughout the week in the SEC. And we're going to take a trip to Oxford, Mississippi, where Ole Miss will be taking on the Vanderbilt Commodores this Saturday in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. And we thought we'd catch up with our good buddy of the Daily Mississippian, Jared Reddick. JR, welcome back to OTH, my man. Can you hear me, JR? Let's talk about it. Big ball game coming up there in Oxford this Saturday as the Ole Miss Rebels have Vanderbilt coming in there. What are some of the keys that you're really, really going to be watching in this particular ball game, East versus West matchup?
The biggest detriment to last season is I think a lot of teams have a lot of detriments going up against, powerhouse Alabama. Is Ole Miss couldn't get off the field on third down. And now with this Smith, Alabama's receiver, had a tremendous game, with a 5-touchdown receiving game, set a couple of records in the process. But Ole Miss really showed that they can do well early on first and second down, but then on third down, they just find a lot of holes. A bunch of other find other holes for them to really exploit. But if they do their job, they can do a lot of big things. It's just you have to get off the field third down, continue to get off the field third down. First down's going to happen. Eventually, points will come out of that. So that's going to be a big thing to watch for defensively for Ole Miss. Offensively, you got to look at the quarterback situation. Matt Brown will be out in another game. Suffered a rib injury late against Cal, and then losing that game. John Rice Plumlee started in his place. He sparked a comeback in that game against Cal, and almost came back to one thing. There was a touchdown that was that was a pass near the end zone that was a lot of people thought was a touchdown.
Right.
Viewed short by the officials, and it was eventually determined that it was no touchdown. And the whole play was even reviewed after the officials reviewed the game, but we saw a lot from John Rice Plumlee in that game. He's a true freshman from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Did a lot of good things that way, but except for 7 against Bama, we didn't really have much room to really throw the ball.
Right.
He I believe his waste percentage was like underneath 40%, if I'm not mistaken, but he found a lot of success running the football. And that's, that just goes to show the athleticism that he really had. He's also going to be a baseball player for this later on. Maybe start just pure athletic. It's interesting to see how they use him this Saturday. Not exactly sure yet who's going to start. And of course, when Richard Ravens for Ole Miss was asked about quarterback situation, he's like, I'm not telling you the quarterback situation at all. So I think from a fan's perspective, you might see Plumlee, but you also might see the other true freshman in this game, Grant Tisdale, true freshman out of Allen, Texas.
Right.
A really, really highly recruited quarterback. See what he could do in this one. So that'll be interesting to see offensively for Ole Miss.
With the quarterback situation being a game time deal, that's going to put a lot more strain on the running game. Talk about Phillips and those guys. How can Ole Miss get this running game involved to kind of, buy a little bit of protection, extra protection for whomever the quarterback is going to be this Saturday?
Yeah, it's been kind of a recurring theme for Ole Miss, really, in this series against Vanderbilt. Is the last couple games of this series against Vanderbilt, the running game has been almost non-existent. Now, Vanderbilt, they've always had, while they haven't been well known to have a good defensive unit as a whole, they've never had those quite good defensive players, especially along the defensive line. That's caused Ole Miss a lot of problems. But the running game of Ole Miss has been really hit or miss this year. You have Scotty Phillips that once he gets rolling, he can get rolling, but he hasn't really have a lot of room. Haven't had much room this year, especially early in the season. He had it up for a little bit, but now you have a guy like John Rice Plumlee, you have to count for really 2 guys. Jerry Ely, another true freshman, saw a lot of promise out of him, especially in the game against Southeast Louisiana, was named SEC freshman of the week in that one. He do a lot of different things, particularly running the ball. But, he's a guy that you really want to get out in open space, a guy you wouldn't really want to run in between the tackles just because when there's only 1 or 2 guys in front of him, you make it happen. When you have 11 guys in front of him, you can't really make much happen out of that one. Steve Connors got a lot of reps. Another true freshman from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. In 5 games, rushed for 157 yards. Scotty Phillips, at this point, leads the team with 389 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. John Rice Plumlee, really in 1 1/4 of a game, have already has 162 yards rushing, which ranked 3rd on the team. But they have to really crank it up this Saturday because, it's well advertised what Plumlee can do with his arm, if he has room to throw and if he has receivers that can make the plays. But the running game, really, to be bowl eligible later on the year, has to really step up.
When you look at this matchup this Saturday, you don't talk about a lot when you speak on Ole Miss offensively about the wide receiver position. I think this Saturday is going to be really, really important that those guys step up. Talk about that matchup, Ole Miss wide receivers versus the Vandy cornerbacks.
Yeah, as far as receivers go, I mean, you lost a lot. Of course, 3 receivers who are doing a lot in the NFL right now: A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, and Dawson Knox as well, which they haven't reached a whole lot of. But once again, you have a lot of young faces and a lot of freshmen out there. Jonathan Mingo, true freshman out of Brandon, Mississippi, got his first touchdown of his career last week. Dontario Drummond has gotten, quite a few receptions this year, especially in that game, against Arkansas earlier in the year. Jerion Ely, they've been using a whole lot out wide. Jason Pellerin's been having, haven't been used a whole lot throughout his career at Ole Miss, but because due to depth there, they have moved tight end. Octavius Cooley is another tight end, who's had to wait his turn for a long time, having to get behind guys like Dawson Knox and, Evan Ingram. He's had a really long way to come up, and he's, made the most of it so far, although the numbers don't really show it. We're kind of more so of a blocking tight end, but with the ball, when he has the ball in hand, he can make a lot of big things happen with that one. But as far as, they just have to really be given an opportunity to play. Once again, with offensively, it's going to have to come down to the offensive line. Now, offensive line has, they had that game against Memphis where it just seemed like, well, this is maybe one of the worst teams in the SEC. Then against Arkansas, you could say, well, okay, maybe they're actually a little bit better than we thought they were.
Right, good point.
And it's just been kind of almost like a roller coaster ride for the offensive line. If you give any Ole Miss quarterback, whether it's Matt Corral, John Rice Plumlee, or even possibly Grant Tisdale this Saturday, just give them room, and those receivers can make it happen. They're coached by, in my opinion, maybe one of the best receiving coaches in the game, in Jacob Peeler, and they're going to have them really ready to play. Just get them out in the open space, and you're going to make it happen. But that's where the majority of the success is going to start. Vanderbilt's defense, of course, they were defensively just taken out to the woodshed last week against LSU with 6 points given up. But that doesn't necessarily mean that one game's really fun as well. There's going to be a lot to come out of that game as well. Looking at the points given up, they've given up 30 to Georgia. They've given up 42 to Purdue. 66, as I mentioned, with LSU. I think that was 2 weeks ago. And 18 points against really a non-Power 5 opponent in Northern Illinois. So the numbers don't really show it as well. But then again, every game is different. It's a whole new 60-minute ball game. Adjustments are needed if it breaks down. But if they can make that adjustments and really force the quarterbacks to make bad throws and make bad decisions, they're going to have a little success if that can happen.
When you look at this team defensively there for Ole Miss, and want everybody to know, we're talking with Jared Redding of the Daily Mississippian, covering all Ole Miss Rebels football for us here on OTH. You look defensively, Ole Miss versus Keyshawn Vaughn and that Jared Lipscomb, Pink Knee, the tight end there. I mean, they got three pretty good skill position players, guys that are well known throughout the SEC, played a lot of football. What is going to be the defensive plan for Ole Miss heading into this game to, hopefully get a big win on their home field?
Yeah, and Vanderbilt's really a team, too, offensively, where, there's not that one guy that's like that. It's kind of a by committee thing. Looking at the stats so far this year, of course, their main point of guys, of course, as you mentioned, Keyshawn Vaughn with 398 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. But you have guys, too, where he be the workhorse, offensively running the ball. But Riley Neal has quite a few choices to choose from. This season, Riley Neal, the quarterback, throwing for 858 yards and 4 touchdowns. Really balanced at receiver. It's kind of like almost the same scenario as Ole Miss, to where they don't really have that one guy that sticks out. It's guys you have to account for. Collegiate Lipscomb this year leading Vanderbilt in receiving with 268 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it's not really just him. You have Cam Johnson, who's 163 yards in a touchdown. You have C.J. Bowler, although it doesn't really show it this year, has capability to do different things. C.J. Bowler scored 2 touchdowns in that game last year to beat Ole Miss.
Right.
And once again, he's another Mississippi native outside of Hattiesburg and Fergus, Mississippi. But it's just a well-balanced game. And Ole Miss, usually, historically, especially the theme this season, for example, with Arkansas, you had Rakeem Boyd, who was the well-advertised, the clear-cut guy on that Arkansas offense. And Ole Miss was just keen on him the whole game. And ended up doing a pretty decent job against him. But against teams like Memphis, where they have multiple guys, while they don't have really the star power to show it, but just punching a lot of ways. Cal had the exact same thing with the quarterback and Chase Garbers, who had a career game against them. Tua Tagovailoa, I mean, what Alabama had. But it just gets to if there's teams that really play, they're really distributed evenly out, it's going to force Ole Miss to look a lot of different ways. And eventually, something will open up. So it's going to be a real challenge for Ole Miss. I'm really going to say Vanderbilt has the capability to do things offensively because of that. But defensively, I think a big key, and I've said this all year long with Ole Miss, is Ole Miss has to get started early in the downs. Get a tackle for loss on first down, maybe force an incompletion on second down, or maybe the other way around. On third and long, which Ole Miss has struggled on third down, as I mentioned, is the further you are away from that first down marker of third down, the more successful it's going to get. But really,
Right.
That's going to be key for Ole Miss to really stop Vanderbilt defensively.
One more man. Thanks for having you on, and thanks for taking time with me. We'll be talking very, very soon. But as always, you have a blessed one, Jared.
All right, thank y'all for having me so much. Thank y'all.
That was Jared Redding of Daily Mississippian giving us his take on this weekend's big ball game, East versus West. Vanderbilt will be making its way to Oxford, Mississippi, Vaught Hemingway Stadium to take on the Ole Miss Black Bear Rebels, I should say. And momentarily we caught up with Justin Stepp, wide receivers coach at the University of Arkansas. Justin had a lot of good things to say. He talked a little bit about Traylon Burks. He also talked about Quellen Jackson and Tyson Morris, two guys that I think are just going to continuously, as sophomores, be more and more of an integral part at that wide receiver core. Two guys that that I think's been doing a very good job 5 games into the 2019 season. But we're going to step away, let you hear what Coach Stepp had to say, and then we'll be back with much, much more. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
Trying to coach my tail off, trying to get him fixed. And Coach Morris finally looked at me one day and said, "Hey, Steph, just leave him alone." And I said, "Hey, whatever you got to do to catch it." I mean, there were guys on the sideline at AT&T Stadium, NFL guys that were like, "Man, I've never seen a human being catch it like that." I said, "I hadn't either, but it works." So.
Do you think he just sees things differently than everybody
I don't know.
else?
He wears 5X gloves, so which I think we had to order some for him. So I mean, he's got huge hands, and like you said, he goes and attacks the ball. And he does the same thing on punts. So as long as he keeps catching them, man, he can catch them every once in a while. As long as he keeps catching them.
What about Knox? How's he been with the hip?
He's doing good. He's positive. He's so smart. I mean, he pays attention in meetings. He's very attentive during practice, and he prepares mentally. So we're looking forward to getting him back next week.
I think Coach said TQ. One of the things that was going to hold him back a little bit was the offense, the high school he came from. Is there a different style of offense or something?
I wouldn't necessarily say different style of offense. It's just some programs are run a certain way and some aren't. I mean, it's just where Trey Nice came from, and obviously with Coach Embry down in Warren, it's just a lot of the same stuff. So I think that's one of the reasons why those two have caught on so fast. But TQ, man, that kid is electric. And he can do some things physically that nobody else in that room can do. It's our job to find the best ways to put him on the field and where he can be successful.
Like physically, you mean speed?
Oh yeah, speed, quickness. I mean, jumping ability. I mean, that kid, man, he can do some special things.
Justin, how are you hanging in there? I'm not sure I've seen a season where receivers have been banged up quite like your group has.
Yeah, it's just next man up. I mean, it's great for a lot of these young guys. I mean, everybody's getting there and getting a lot of reps. And, it's been a challenging season as far as injuries go. But really looking forward to getting some guys back healthy. And I mean, it's been, like I said, it's been really good for a lot of our young guys.
Yeah, I think Chad said he expected Knox and Woods back, but maybe Jordan Jones back from Kentucky as well.
Yeah, Jordan's been great. He's been running around out there, and man, really looking forward to getting him back. He's been unbelievably positive. He's worked his tail off to get back in shape, and hopefully we get him back soon.
Quellen Jackson and Tyson Morris surprised you all with their contributions?
Yeah, I mean, I first off, I can't say enough about Tyson Morris. I mean, I don't know. Tyson Morris played a position. He may have gotten 5 or 6 plays at that position Thursday, and maybe 2 or 3 plays at that position Friday, and then caught 2 huge third downs in that position that he never plays. But it just goes to show you his preparation and his attention to detail and just being able to get in there and play that spot. Really proud of him. And then again, like you said, with Quillen got in there, played 30 plays, and did a lot of really good things for us. Caught a big ball, had a big play, and just played extremely hard. And really proud of both of those guys.
Big picture offensively, what do y'all need to get done this week? What do y'all want to improve on?
Just the attention to details, the small things. Just the base offense. We had a couple mistakes at my position last week, and just going back and fixing those things, and then obviously building on what we feel like we can do moving forward, as far as the game plan for Kentucky, especially. But just paying attention to the details, fixing the small things, and just really going back and fixing what we screwed up Saturday.
You mentioned
Back. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. I'm here coming to you live on KDSJ 479, 1 to 2 p.m., Monday through Friday. Well, Tuesday through Friday. I should never say Monday through Friday yet because we do a preempted 30-minute show on Monday to recap the previous weekend's ball game. But that was Coach Justin Stepp, wide receivers coach there at the University of Arkansas. A very, very deep room. I'm going to bring in my co-host. If you have any questions you'd like to send in to Demetrius or myself, you can do so by hitting up our Facebook page on the Hill Sports Talk, or you can hit us up on our YouTube Live on the Hill Sports Talk LLC. You can hit us up with any of those questions. But Coach Stepp, Demetrius, has quite the room. I continue to see more and more depth be displayed, more and more experience. I thought Traylon Burks had by far his best game as a Razorback 5 games in. I feel like the sky's really, the ceiling's the limit for him. I mean, and really he doesn't have a ceiling. In your opinion, when you look at it, also too, Tyson Morris, I'm telling you, doesn't get a lot of, not one of those flashy guys, but I'm talking about from the day Tyson Morris has walked on, being someone that's covered this young man, you have to have an appreciation for someone that really sticks to it, goes through the good and the bad, and is finally getting his chance to be a very big contributor to this Razorback offense, Demetrius.
Yeah, I think a little of the problem is guys have preempted reads before the play. I think that's the beauty of sometimes what they do with Starco is that they kind of already have him targeting Trey Knox and Traylon Burks. But I think if he can build a little confidence across the board with some of those receivers like Tyson Morrison, a guy that I think has sure hands and can definitely add stability with the receiving core, because we can't be so one-dimensional that if Trey doesn't play, we can't produce on offense, or if Traylon doesn't play, we don't produce on offense. We have to be able to, like Coach Stepp said, he said next man up. But I think it starts with the quarterback and also the play calling, making sure guys aren't having those pre-registered reads saying, okay, we're gonna throw the O'Grady this play on third down, regardless if he's triple teamed or not.
Right.
We have to have confidence in a multitude of guys, and also.
But I don't know right now the way O'Grady's playing.
No, I mean,
you gotta give him that spoon and let him eat.
I'm not saying they don't, but like the last play of the game, for example, everybody knew who the ball was going to. Everybody knew that O'Grady was going to be that target, but I think they have to learn to put people in position to where they're decoys and they structure plays for other guys that because if I know it's a number game in football, only 11 people can be on the field at one time.
Yep.
So if you got 3 people guarding O'Grady, you have to find that guy that has that one-on-one matchup, because I think Tyson is one of those guys. When his numbers called in those tight third downs, he genuinely makes the catch, and he hasn't just did it. He didn't just do it in that Texas A&M game. He's been doing it throughout moments in this season. I just think it hasn't really been talked about because you have 2 amazing freshmen coming up and doing some special things.
And I think, like I said, I think having number 85 out there, and we've talked about this, and for those that listen to our show each and every day leading into this 2019 season, you know how I feel about number 85. I've always felt like he was going to be the centerpiece as far as how Traylon and Trey and Mike Woods and even Tyson Morris and all those receivers, how they get open by how, CJ's getting those double and triple teams right now. And as a result, there's going to be, when you got 4 or 5 athletes and TQ Jackson, throw him in there as well, when you got guys with that size and that type of speed, they're going to be able to find some open lanes to catch a few passes. And I think as this offense continues to lean on CJ and Traylon Burks and Trey Knox and Mike Woods, because I think those are going to be the 4 go-to guys for the season going forward, and rightfully so. I think these guys have earned it. I think Tyson Morris has earned the right to be that 5th wide receiver option, in my opinion. I agree with my co-host Demetrius and what he said wholeheartedly. He just makes the plays. I mean, I can go back, Demetrius, to that Colorado State game. There was a deep out on the sideline, the opposing sideline, and I believe Starkle threw it. From where I was saying, my vantage point, I thought it was an interception. But, the hand-eye coordination that Tyson had to be able to pull that in and get a first down, I thought was really, really impressive. And it only exemplifies all the hard work that this man has put in. But at the same time, he's gotten in the system that fits him. Coach Stepp came in and from day one gave Tyson the opportunity. And you just watch, I think, what Jordan Jones coming back, I think that's going to be an added dimension just by the speed that Jordan's going to bring. I mean, this is a 4-3 guy that is clearly going to be a deep threat. If you want to put 8 in the box, I mean, then you expect number 10 and the offensive staff there at Arkansas to start taking a couple chunk plays each and every game down the field just to get that, get them out of that 8-man box. And I think that's what's going to happen. But, I really feel like if you look at it, Pro Football Focus came out a few days ago with a graphic by Cheyenne O'Grady and just how efficient that this young man has been. I mean, and to me, it goes back to the Texas A&M game, and he's done nothing to even for a fan or anyone watching the Razorbacks have a feel of he's not coming into the expectation that was far thought. I thought myself he should have been a first or second team SEC player, and you heard that on the ride back, and you've been hearing that for multiple years. How good I think of a tight end number 85 really is. I think he is by far the best tight end in the SEC, and the numbers are proving it, Demetrius, as we speak.
Yeah, you speaking in reference to Cheyenne?
Yes.
Definitely. We knew Cheyenne had the potential to be great in high school. He was always bigger, stronger, faster than a lot of the kids. So, I think it's just his time. He was one of those people that said the best thing to having O'Grady was not playing his freshman year. When you look at the production at the tight end position from the University of Arkansas, going all the way back to A.J. Derby.
Right.
So that kind of started that trend as far as the tight end. I think, Cheyenne is only going to improve that. And really, it's really when you look at the tight ends drafted from Arkansas, it's almost an evolution of tight ends when you look at the type of styles and personnel we brought. Because, A.J. was one of those pure pass catchers, really didn't have a lot of finesse.
Right.
Then you go from him to Hunter Henry. He's a guy that, he was able to flex out. Then you went to Sprinkle, and he was able to even take that a little further. And now you got a guy in Cheyenne O'Grady that can do all those. He has a little bit of all those guys wrapped in one with a little bit of extra athletic ability to make, a play after the catch. And I think that's really what separates O'Grady. I wish stat-wise O'Grady would be, one of the top greats at the tight end position. But I think once he's done with his NFL career, he's going to have those numbers to kind of come back to Arkansas and say, man, Cheyenne was one of the best tight ends to really ever come through Arkansas. Maybe he didn't have the season or the campaign he would have liked to have in college, but I think when you look at his NFL season, his NFL ceiling and what he could potentially do on the next level is great.
I mean, think about that. Since 2014, Arkansas, once number 85 gets his name called this coming June, will have had 4 tight ends that will play major roles on the NFL roster 4 out of the last 6 years. So, I mean, if you're a recruit, and you see the development that's taking place there at the University of Arkansas, you can't help but, make it be an inquiry. It may not be a school that you end up choosing, but Arkansas is always going to be on some of the radar of some of the elite tight ends in all of college football. But, also we want to touch on a topic right now. They got 5 really elite ones in the SEC, 3 offensive and 5 defensive that are true freshman starters in this conference. A multitude of true freshmen are playing in this year's football team. Talk about that. Where do we grade this freshman class 5 games into their career here at Arkansas? For the ones that are getting the reps and the minutes, I mean, is it on a scale of 1 to 10? Where Where do you grade these freshmen that you've seen get reps?
I think it's a good thing, and I think that where they're at, I think that I have to start with. Let me just start with Mateo Soli. He's way above his class. He's not playing like
one-handed.
He's not playing like a freshman. I think he's playing like a grown man. I think he's one of those dudes when you talk about football players that are really making an impact on Arkansas's team. I can definitely already see him being first team All-American for the freshman class. I can't think of anybody else in the SEC right now outside of that kid they were talking about at Ole Miss that had that one game. I believe the Memphis game where he had 7 or 12 tackles. I can't remember which one. But outside of that, I think Mateo Soli has probably been one of the most productive freshmen around the country.
Yeah, I like Mateo. I think Mateo's had a great start to his freshman year in his career here at Arkansas. I'm really curious to see just how much better he's going to become once he gets that cast off his hand and can play with two hands on his defender. I think you'll see even more burstability and being able to shed and get off blocks, and not miss some of those tackles that he would have a guy, the quarterback in his grasp, but just couldn't reach around and put that second hand on him. Also, too, I've been very impressed with offensive left guard Ricky Stromborg. I've always felt like, and we had Ricky on prior to him coming to Arkansas, and through that interview, I just felt a certain confidence about this young man, a certain physicalness that when he got here, I wasn't surprised when I saw it. I think he's going to be another one. Then you look at Trey Knox, a guy that he's dealing with a little thigh injury at the moment, but being a freshman, he's played through that, and I think he's going to continue to be a problem for SEC opponents as the season goes on. I mean, they have 7 games. Then Traylon Burks, I said it here, I believe today, and also I really felt that when I walked out of Jerrysville on Saturday. Thought this young man played his best football game, top to bottom, as a Razorback. He showed flashes of why he was so highly recruited, and why the state of Arkansas, really, Demetrius, was so excited to have this guy. This is a guy that wears a 5.5 size glove. 5.5 sizes. That's tremendously huge. He has really big hands, and some of those balls that he was able to snag this Saturday, you could tell he had those big mittens. Also, too, you look over at Greg Brooks. This is a guy defensively as well as Mateo Soli that's played, been under fire, been the target of a lot of third down passing situations. And that's to be expected. If you have veteran coordinators such as A&M, such as Rich Rod at Ole Miss and those things, you're going to go at a true freshman because there's no way to learn, Demetrius, or for any of you listeners, rather than the reps that you get. This program, I know there's times where even in the media, I get a little frustrated, but and I know the fans, because you hear as you walk out of the stadium or you're down on the field, you hear a lot of frustration. But just know, this is a very young football team, but this is a defense that's really making themselves known nationally, Demetrius. This defense, a lot of people may not understand, is second in the country in scooping scores. Points allowed is what I call scooping score.
I don't know if they make a reputation for getting scored on or what, but they do have a reputation around college football right now. That was just a little joke, so for all you Razorback fans, don't take that to heart. They are a young team, though. I think they have a tremendous upside. You've been talking about that all year. And I hate to say this, a lot of Razorback fans probably don't want to hear this, but I think, the missing part of that defense is Ryan Pulley. If you look at what potentially...
You think Pulley's the missing piece?
Yes, I do.
I think they have to get a little bit tougher at the middle linebacker spot.
I think when you look at the coverage spot and when you look at Ole Miss, and you got to think when one corner goes down, it's
okay. So who you take out if Ryan Pulley's here? Who's not out there? Is it Pac-Man or is it Buster? In my opinion, it's Pac-Man.
I think. See, and that's the thing about it. That's the point I'm going to go make. I think with that, you have Buster and McClellan swapping out, and you don't have to pay those guys as the number 1 and number 2s, and you can kind of switch up that defensive back, because I think that's the one position right now we really can't make adjustments. We could.
I did see some extra true freshmen out in practice during a lot of the team period. The last 2 days, I think Jalen Cadlon is a guy that we're going to see more of in our availability, but yesterday with the defensive coaches, Ron Cooper made a note of he's going to start just absolutely saying this is a series you're going to go on. Okay, so it's if to say Joe goes 2 series. Well, you're going the 3rd series. The same goes for Devin Bush, starting to get some of these younger guys in because these are football players, and Coach Cooper made a mention of that. They brought these kids in here for a reason because they felt like they could help turn this program around and impact not on down the road, but their true freshman year. And so I anticipate you're going to see a lot more in the secondary. But it just blows my mind, Demetrius, the amount of freshmen that have had to play. I mean, over 3/4 of this freshman class has played at some form or another, either it be offense, defense, or in the kicking game. So, I mean, that's only going to help this football team if you're a Razorback fan. Now, once again, I say that, and when I say that, this is a program that's lost, 23 out of their last 24 conference games. So it's kind of hard to digest when a person like myself comes on and says the future's looking bright, but eventually that roster is going to turn. And because think about it, look down at LSU and at SMU. Chad even mentioned that he doesn't want to take credit for any of their success. He wants those kids to live in the moment. But let's not be remiss to understand that most of that talent there is Chad Morris talent. I know there have been reports of 90 or more kids making their way in the last 2 years, but I'm not. I need to see that because I need to look at the roster as to what it was as to what it is now. Prior to Sonny Dykes coming to LSU. Now, SMU, I should say. I don't know why I'm on this LSU thing today. But Sonny's got some players come in, and when you have the quarterback transfer, as he has from Texas, and the AAC. It's the AAC, Demetrius. It's the AAC. But we're going to step away, and we're going to come and finish up with our last segment. We caught up with a very, very blunt, and I like this guy, Coach Jeff Traylor. We won't let you hear what Jeff had to say in last evening's media availability that we had with the offensive staff. And then we'll come back with much, much more. If you have any questions, want to touch base with us, you can do so by shooting us a question on our Facebook Live page, On the Hill Sports Talk, or you can hit us up on our YouTube Live, On the Hill Sports Talk LLC. We'll be back in a moment. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
He's good. We're just being careful. He's played 5 games, near 100 carries, so we're just being smart with him right now. He's actually angry. We put him in there.
What's the big picture things y'all want to do offensively this week? What are you focusing in on?
We want to win. That's really it. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck. I'm just being honest with you. There's no such thing as moral victories. 2 and 3 is not good. We don't like it. We want to win.
TJ Hammond has done some slot stuff. Do you still have him in your room some, or how do y'all work him?
TJ's a very smart kid, so he's learning a little bit of both. But yeah, we're working him back in slowly, and we'll continue to see how that evolves.
You may be getting closer to getting some reps. Coach, seen him practice quite a bit out there.
Yeah, he's a really sharp kid, came from a great program in Alabama, understands the game very well. I'm blessed with a very deep room, and the situation just hasn't presented itself where we get him out there. We've been in 5, fourth quarter ball games, and it's nothing against him at all. It's just the room's deep, and I'm repeating myself. It's nothing he's done or hasn't done. It's just a matter of you got Rakeem Boyd, you got Devwall Whaley, you got Chase Hayden, you got T.J. Hammonds. So it's a very deep room.
Who is Lamonte comparable to as far as his running style?
He's kind of a slasher. He's a downhill back, but he can catch. He's got some skill to him. He's got some speed to him. I'm not real good at comparisons. I'm probably a terrible interview. I apologize. So I'm not real good at that. But he's just a tough kid that plays angry, that comes from a winning program in Alabama, state championship back, and fiery competitor. So,
what's the evaluation you have of your group through 5 games?
We're 2 and 3, so we're below 500.
Have your guys hit the holes that you wanted to hit? I mean, are they hitting their tracks better, like you talked about before?
We've missed a couple in every game, and we'd be the first ones to say that, but not many. We've slipped a couple times, you know, in some places where we had chances to really make them big, and that's been very frustrating. So I know you guys have been out there. We've worked real hard just on cutting, you know, high knees on some bag drills, some things running back coaches have been doing for 100 years. But none of those guys want to be 2 and 3, and none of the coaches do, and that's I'm not being smart at all. My answers to y'all. It's just how we feel, and it's amazing how a couple plays we're sitting in here 4-1, and we'd all be laughing and dabbing each other up. Instead, you know, I want to go home and kick my dog. So.
You feel good about Chase Hayden being able to come back for a Kentucky game, or his status there?
You know, I let the trainer handle those kind of situations. I mean, I can barely do my own job, much less someone else's.
What's been the biggest differences with Rakeem now versus this time last year?
You know, night and day. Great question. I mean, first of all, he's never on the list anymore. I mean, he goes to class. Not that he didn't, but he's very mature. He wants to be coached now. He doesn't take it as a personal attack. He really wants to be fantastic. He wants to win. You know, he's not about, you know, his stats. He wants to win the ball game. He wouldn't want me to tell you all this, but you know, he's been in tears, you know, 3 times. I mean, like, he put it out there. He's played injured. He's practiced through. He's never taken a rep off in practice. He did not want to be in green today. I made him be in green. He was mad that I wouldn't let him go in the live part. So he's nowhere near the same kid. He's way stronger. He's faster. And he pass protects way better. I don't know if you've noticed his pass protections, but I mean, he competes. He sticks his face in there. He finishes through the whistle and after. And, you know, that's the biggest difference.
You know, with Devois, I know he made a few mistakes in those early games, but really, I mean, he's made some catches.
Welcome back. It's On the Hill, Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our closing segment here of our Thursday edition of OTH, brought to you each and every day here on KDSJ. But real quick, want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors. I want to give a shout out to Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting. For all commercial, residential, or anything you want to look good, contact Corey Beck. You won't be disappointed. And our newest sponsor, KDK's Chicken. I want to give a special prayer out for Miss Kathy. And she's had a little medical issue, but she's back up on her feet. So the guys here at OTH, out to you, Miss Kathy at KDK, is all sent up all prayers. But they're located at 989 Razorback Road. Go get you a plate of that love from Keith and Kathy. And like they say, it's not your mama's. For my producer, I want to give a thank you to our special guest, Jared Redding of the Daily Mississippian, for coming on and talking to us a little bit about the Ole Miss Rebels, big Eastern matchup versus the Vanderbilt Commodores at Vaught Hemingway Stadium this Saturday. And also, too, want to give a thank you to my producer. And then I'm going to sign off. From me to you, it's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.